Didn't I say, help me out with this one.
Okay.
Before we get into the meat of this here, we're going through the bread, the top layer of Wonder Bread.
Sure.
Just starting to touch mayonnaise.
Mm-hmm.
And Braunschweiger?
Okay.
I'm trying to put something weird on a sandwich. What's something weird to go on a sandwich?
Pretty weird. Braunschweiger is pretty weird.
Yeah, but it's tasty though.
Spam.
Spam.
Yeah.
A spamwich.
Yeah.
A spamwich sandwich.
Yeah.
Which is tautological.
Yes.
Tautological is tautological. Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yes.
The beginning of the end.
Why is it the beginning of the end?
Well, we won't know. Come on, you know my feelings about this. We won't know for another couple hours here, depending on how long the ceremony is.
Mm-hmm.
The Oscars are going on right now. We won't know for sure that he's won Best Picture, although I feel like it seems strong.
Yeah.
And of the... So I think they'll split it. I think Yorgos will get the favorite because everybody just seems to agree that's fine. They're not going to give it to Black Panther.
No, they're not.
Although, what is a Best Picture? This is maybe another...
Right.
Actually, this is the Oscar night, so maybe this is the time to have this conversation. But,
yeah.
but I mean, successful, made a lot of money.
Mm.
They wanted to add a whole new category just so they could praise it.
For the Black Panther, yeah.
And, I mean, it'll probably win soundtrack, but then again, here's the huge question of the night. Does the Oscars completely screw over A Star is Born? Because you've got a Best Actor who really... I think that he will... I'm not really blown away by Bradley Cooper as an actor, writer, or director.
Right.
But he's somebody who will definitely be back because of his ambition, if nothing else.
Right.
So do you get him out of the way now and honor him for acting, directing, and the music? Or do you give it to Cuarón, who has a big film himself, and I think is probably the odds-on favorite for director. Mm-hmm. Favorite, which is the odds-on. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous about this.
Yeah.
I'm not nervous at all. I don't care.
About the Oscars? Okay.
I'm just tired. The favorite, Best Picture,
yes.
and then Black Panther soundtrack, because there's literally nothing else that it could win for with a straight face.
Yeah. Is it up for special effects at all? Like, maybe it could win for that.
It is not.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I kind of feel like A Star is Born is going to win for soundtrack. I just that's kind of my gut feeling with that.
So then it's skunked.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Black Panther is going to get skunked, which is too bad because it is a really good film. But I kind of think A Star is Born, if it's going to win anything, it's going to win soundtrack or like best song or something like that.
And will it sound like this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it will.
So anyway, Yorgos Lanthimos, his next movie is going to be called Population 1280. What's it about?
Gosh, I read the synopsis and I don't remember already, so that's really great. Isn't it kind of like sci-fi?
It's a gritty, crime-heavy pulp.
Oh.
He's going genre.
Yeah, yeah. So,
you can't go genre? You are your own genre.
I know. He's
a genre
so weird.
of films where people talk about watch bands.
Yes.
For extended amounts of time.
Yes.
So what is it going to be now?
What's his next film going to be?
No, what's it? Big crime drama. Hold it right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot you with this gun. It is my favorite gun. It holds 13 bullets and one in the chamber. I like your gun. Can I hold it? Not right now.
I'm going to shoot you with it.
It's the start of the finish.
It doesn't sound great. I really enjoy the films that he wrote and directed, so I am with you on that. I hope this isn't him like selling out. I just
You mean succeeding? You mean having success?
Success is fine. I just, maybe I'm being selfish. I still want good movies from him, and I don't know if this is going to happen with us or not. Like. Okay.
Well, God knows we don't have any crime movies, gritty crime movies.
I know, right? Well, I mean, like...
I don't know. What do they call a Royale with cheese? They call it a quarter pounder.
I know, right?
It's the other way around because they're in Europe.
Yes. I mean, I think I liked The Favorite all right. I don't think it was my favorite of his films, though, ironically, because it's called The Favorite.
I just think that's... circumstance. I don't think that's irony.
Yeah,
he didn't name it that expecting it to be Mick and Hana's favorite film.
Oh, all right.
It's unfortunate is what it is.
Yeah, I know. I think maybe The Lobster might be my favorite of his films. Do you have a favorite? Or is it hard to choose?
It'd be easy to say Dogtooth.
Yeah.
Just because it got the whole ball rolling.
You're right.
It might be Sacred Deer.
Okay.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that's good too.
I like the it's got some good kid actors in it.
This is very true.
Which it doesn't always happen.
No.
It's got Barry Keoghan.
The weird kid.
Barry Kay. The weird kid.
He eats the spaghetti.
Weird kids are
creakily.
taking over.
Yeah, I know.
Weird kids are the future. Asa Butterfield, who plays the main kid in Sex Education.
Yes.
He's 21.
Okay. All right.
So I was thinking, like, this kid, you don't see it, or maybe you do a little unconsciously, but this kid is gonna slay. Do you know what I mean? Like I know he looks dorky, but
yes.
He's 6 feet tall. He's got a refinement to him.
Yes.
And in a few years, he's gonna do a Nick Hoult.
Sure.
You know, he's gonna go from bowl cut, shake your ass to like slaying it in car commercials or whatever he does now.
Sure. Yeah. No.
Look at his wife. But he's already 21, so I'm not sure how much more change he can go through. Maybe he'll just stop right here. But even if he stops right here,
right,
I think he's doing okay.
He's going places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah, I hope so.
Let's try to. We're the Just Enough Trope podcast. I'm your host, Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
We're here.
Yes,
we're going
we
to do
are.
it.
Yes.
The idea that maybe was a concept too far, but we're going through with it because now we need to. If you binge, you must purge.
That is very true.
And I almost
that
wish
should
that
be
we
on a
would
bumper sticker.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be like a Blumhouse thing, right? Who
I
does
don't
the
know.
Purge movies?
I don't know who does the Purge movies.
Don't write that down.
What? Seriously?
No.
Okay.
It's horrible.
I thought that was good. If you binge, you should purge.
Write down Asa Butterfield slays. Write that down. Don't write that down. We discussed, and now we're doing it, talking about this. There's this weird period in the 90s where you think the comic book movie thing got started with, like, maybe Blade at the end of the 90s or Spawn like a year or two before, I think. Not true.
No.
Not true. And I'm not talking about Italian Spider-Man. I'm talking about that weird era post 1989 Tim Burton Batman where suddenly everybody was trying to make a comic book movie.
Yes.
And because we watch so many movies and because the subjects of these movies are comic characters that even I am not particularly familiar with, rather than doing the usual thing, which is we do a full nosedive into
read the comics
Wikipedia, and we really become experts. I thought, let's just take it as is at face value.
Yes.
So that being said, I'm not going to have my usual granular level of detail to what's going on here, but I do know that the rights to Marvel characters were tied up in a lot of weird ways.
Sure.
So that not a lot could really happen
Marvel-wise
in the 90s.
Sure.
Yeah, right. And also, the company's going through bankruptcy.
Right.
And they sold a lot of their properties off just to stay afloat.
Right.
And so that's why at the end of the 90s you get Blade, which is a Marvel Studios picture, through New Line or whatever. So that's like technically the first Marvel movie.
That's very true.
Which is why it's crazy. And if they don't add him into the next phase of whatever,
I
come
know.
on.
I know,
Get
right?
old Blade in here, kill some vampires.
I know. Get Wesley Snipes.
Right.
Seriously.
And Warner Brothers had its own thing it was trying to work out. See Justice League TV pilot from 1996 or 7.
Ooh, I kind of want to watch that.
Yeah, right.
Is it
Hold
that bad?
thought.
Okay.
So instead, the studios turned to the pulp heroes of the 30s and 40s
Yes.
and 50s, and some of whom who have stuck around till today, because I'm assuming the licenses were cheap.
Yes.
And so we are going to look at, we watched a series of films which all evince those heroes that come from an earlier time. And I don't know, whoever greenlit these thought that they would connect with audiences. And we'll talk about whether that happened or not. The films are Dick Tracy from 1990, The Rocketeer from 1991, The Shadow from 1994, and The Phantom from 1996.
Yes.
Those are the four that just mostly randomly, but all sort of major releases.
Yes.
A couple years, 2010, Frank Miller made a Spirit film.
Yeah.
Which
2008.
Oh, okay. Which we could have watched, but we didn't because it sucks, and also it's really a Sin City film. It's barely a Spirit film.
It is.
And you had another great idea for one that we could have checked out, but we
I
didn't.
believe it's like Darkman. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
With Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Darkman is is an original character. I believe we talked about that talking on the show.
I think we probably did.
It's
yeah.
an homage to the Universal Monsters by Raimi, but
right?
It's like a Paul Piro, but it was never a thing though.
Okay,
like the Rocketeer, but we'll talk about that.
Right. Well, I had seen The Shadow before, but couldn't remember it, and I got it confused with Darkman. So that's what I was thinking in my mind. So except. It was Alec Baldwin and not Liam Neeson.
The Shadow is, what evil lurks in the minds of men.
Right.
Shadow knows. And Darkman is, take the fucking elephant. That's the difference between those. Before we get started.
Yes.
Do you want to get out? Because I do. Did you come up with any insights from Assault? Just banging your mind silly with old characters with cocaine-fueled adaptations.
Well, I think pretty much all of the characters, well, except for the Rocketeer, I don't think he had a gun at any point.
He did.
He did.
I don't think he shot anybody, but he had a gun.
All right, so they all had guns. And, I think, you look at Marvel superheroes and DC superheroes, and almost none of them carry a gun.
Batman had a gun.
He did?
His first
that seems
year
so,
of his existence.
That seemed not Batman, because that's what killed his parents.
Again, but it didn't kill his parents until they created that origin story.
Oh, I see.
A year or 18 months into the comic.
I see.
Because none of these characters were planned to be things that would last nearly 100
really
years.
Long time. Yeah.
They were just cash-ins.
Right.
And in some cases, they weren't even what they were. Like, The Shadow was created at the behest of an advertising agency.
Oh,
and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, yeah, so, they just thought Paul Piro has to have a kind of catchy name, have a distinctive look, but they all do the exact same thing. They all fight Chinese scientists who are trying to melt the city or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they brutally murder all the scientist henchmen, and then they kick the scientist off a wall and he falls to his death inside a fire or something on a sinking ship.
Yes.
It's like when we read The Destroyer.
Yeah.
That's like The Destroyer. He's like, well, I'm a journalist and I'm going to go find out what's happening in that World War II.
Right.
Whoa, the Nazis locked me up. Oh, you ratsies, I'm going to put on a pair of striped pants and then just punch you all off of buildings and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
That was it.
No,
so these guys are
exactly
like, they'll take a life. They don't care.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. The Museum of Natural History in New York is present in 2 of the 4 films.
Well, but that's something else, because remember, this is it's not pre-sci-fi. Like, sci-fi, arguably existed.
Right.
But our ideas and tropes of sci-fi weren't there. So this is about, adventure. This is about, we don't have Google Maps, so there could be hidden islands. The entire world has not been charted.
Right.
And adventurers, real-life adventurers, Stanley and things like that, gave rise to novels like H. Rider Haggard's novels, Burroughs, Tarzan, that sort of stuff. So there's still jungles and mystery and appropriation to be done.
Right. No, that's very true.
All white guys in fedoras.
Yeah, I know.
Taking it all home.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about it.
Okay.
We'll do some news too. All right, let's hit that news quick. We talked more last week about how Battle Angel Alita, not its right name, but who cares?
Right.
Didn't do great, but it did okay.
Right.
Made $41.7 million, which is not good. The whole movie industry so far this year, not good. It's a little behind. Yeah. All of President's Day was not that great.
Okay.
However, it launched in China.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about all the restrictions on China. A guy, George Rockwell Schmidt, has a YouTube channel that you should definitely check out.
Okay.
He did a very interesting video, interesting only to people like him and me probably, about the influence of the Chinese box office and how Chinese box office was about $9 billion, I think, American last year, which is only about $3 billion off of us. So they're huge. Screw Bollywood. Like this, they're the thing right now.
Right.
And yet all of their films still run through the Office of Cultural Normativity or whatever they call it,
Yeah,
so you can't have ghosts. You can't, make fun of traditions. You can't have drugs or anything like that. So anyway, somehow, and I'm sure it was designed this way, Alita Battle Angel made it through fine.
Right.
I'd argue that somebody's brain inside a robot. It's kind of like a haunted robot, but
Right.
it's just me.
Yeah.
Well, it made $62 million.
Wow.
It crushed the American total.
Yeah, it did.
So that gets us a lot closer to the possibility of a sequel, but still kind of far away.
Yeah. Huh. Do you think it is possible for them to do a sequel with that?
I think Cameron could probably pay for it himself if
Yeah,
he wanted it
that's
that
true.
bad. He could just foot the bill. He could just work for free or something like that. They could... a lot of times when you're developing technology, it's more expensive. Once you've established
developed
it's
it.
cheap.
Right.
So now that they've got coat hanger on your face,
Right.
we've already written the huge eye program.
Right.
Maybe they could do it for cheaper, or maybe they could just scale it back.
Right. I mean, do you think...
I mean, they shot in like Brazil. They already were trying to cut costs.
Right.
So,
Do you think maybe if he decided to wait on some Avatar films and like...
well, he won't wait.
He won't?
No. And
Okay.
he's wanted to do Battle Angel Alita since the 90s.
Oh, really?
And the reason it exists now is because he was developing Battle Angel and then just realized he wanted, like, this big eye thing has been in the works for a while. Like, he wanted a CGI face, realized the technology didn't exist, began developing the technology,
I see.
and came up with the idea of
Avatar.
Cat People Planet.
Yes.
And so basically just started doing Avatar, and Alita went on hold. That's the story I've heard.
Okay. That's
So
kinda
nothing's going to
interesting.
stop him from doing these Avatar
Right.
movies. But if Avatar 2 crushes, which
It's a possibility.
McWorld, anything can
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I mean, his ticket will be written again for the 14th time
Right.
in Hollywood, and he'll
Right.
get all the money he wants to do Alita 2.
Okay. Well, I kind of hope that happens. I kind of want
What
to
do
see
you call it?
Alita too. Oh boy.
This is why they did this, right? So now
Yeah.
it's Alita :
Rollerball or whatever. What is it called?
Motorballer?
Motorballer. Yeah. That's kind of tongue twisty though.
Well,
Maybe
you
it
could go to
doesn't
the
roll off your
original
tongue.
collections
Okay,
of the
yeah.
comic, and they've all got like dark
subtitles.
angel,
Sure.
chocolate loving angel, red angel, wrong
You
show.
showed me this really great meme the
That
other
was shown
day.
to me by a friend of mine.
Yeah.
That I
About
should just plug by Jacob Gulliver, who runs the Movie Machine podcast, of which I just appeared on 2 episodes of. You can find it on hotchocolatemedia.net, I believe.
yes. And it's like she loves oranges and she loves chocolate, right? So it was like 3 pictures of her face reacting to oranges and reacting to chocolate, and then at the end it's that chocolate orange, I forget what they're called, where you kind of like crush the chocolate.
It's a orange made of chocolate, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it breaks the section off, and like her eyes were just like glowing
Right.
because it was like overreaction, like, like her 2 favorite things together. Oh my god. Yeah. Anyways, that was pretty great.
That's the joke. Yeah. It was pretty great. So, cybernetic fingers crossed. No, chain whip, razor sharp fingers crossed
Right.
for Alita. Because we're going to need somebody. We're going to need a strong female character now that Jessica Jones has been canceled by Netflix.
I know.
Along with The Punisher.
Yeah. It was only a matter of time.
I love how they just got... This is the Band-Aid thing. Because I think we talked about this. This is no great prognostication. But I
No.
was like, 2 weeks after The Punisher comes out, they're going to cancel.
Yeah.
I did know they were going to cancel Jessica Jones before her 3rd season even comes out.
Yeah, I know.
Now, maybe they just thought, well, it'll be an emotional goodbye, but a lot of people probably just won't watch it now, right? This is
That's
the
entirely
ultimate
possible.
lost cut.
Yeah.
This is just like,
So when is her 3rd season coming out?
I
Do
don't
you know?
care, and I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I asked.
You want to do another question?
I'm guessing there's not going to be another season of The Defenders because they're all canceled. So
No. And search, Google a letter to Marvel television fans from Jeff Loeb. It's an open
Okay.
letter. Hope that it's still up. It's on Marvel.com. And it's basically him just doing the fakest, everything's fine. We're fine. How are you? The house is on fire. It's characterized as a well done, everyone. We did it. We can shut it down now. We've
Wow.
accomplished our mission.
okay.
It's not bitter at all, and it's not thanks for screwing us over, Netflix. And it's not that. Not that. It's all,
Okay.
everything is great here.
Okay.
I'm hungry. I'm dirty. I'm losing my mind.
Right.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So check that out.
Okay.
How do we get that guy to retire?
Jeff Loeb?
Not great.
No.
He's not good at this.
No. He's the Marvel TV guy, right?
That's why he
Yeah, that's why you wrote that letter.
wrote that letter.
Yeah. Did he mention in that letter all the great Marvel shows that are coming up on Disney Plus? Because he really should have, because that would have been a positive note to leave off of.
I don't know. I didn't read it. Hey,
Okay.
check this out.
What?
Remember the storyteller?
Yes, the Jim Henson storyteller.
How do you know that?
I think I've watched like maybe a couple episodes. I think you made me watch a couple episodes.
So the answer is me. That's how you know that.
I think I was too young to actually watch it when it came out.
All right.
Or either that, or
All right,
because I
enough.
don't have older siblings, I didn't have that to pass down to me.
Fine.
But there was a dog who is a puppet, right?
Yes. Yes, and William Hurt in scarily accurate old age makeup, considering how he ended up looking. John Hurt, not William Hurt. John Hurt is the storyteller.
Yes.
And then his dog's like, "Oh, we're just going to tell him a story." It's like, what, this dog talks?
I know, right?
What? And then it was just the craziest.
Yes.
Because they would take real life fairy tales and they
Yes.
wouldn't do, I don't know if it was a rights issue or just being original. They'd steer away from like grim stuff. But they'd have things that were, as far as I know, like actual fairy tales. Maybe they all were. I don't know. But some of them were really great. Like the gambler who gets the sack that he puts death in or whatever.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like that's a good one. And then there's another one where there's the guy that turns into a swan or something.
I thought it was a lady. I don't know. I remember that one too.
But some
that
of them
must
were
be
just
one of
like,
the ones that I
what
saw.
is going on?
I know.
The Muppet Show,
Yes.
which was successful, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
Yes.
And Sesame Street. Sesame Street, Muppet Show, Farscape.
Fraggle Rock. Don't forget Fraggle Rock.
Not a success.
You don't think so?
No, every other Henson show, did they just go for it too hard or something like that?
I guess.
Because the storyteller, that every subsequent like reboot of the Muppet Show,
Yeah.
all the Dark Crystal,
Yeah.
all abject failures.
Oh, okay.
So
I loved Fraggle
anyway,
Rock.
and
Anyways.
including the storyteller.
Okay.
So
sure.
here we go again. And
Yeah.
apparently this time, Neil Gaiman is on board to produce.
Yeah. So that
And
kind of
theoretically to write as well.
tells me it's going to be weird and dark. That's what I think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Kind of weird. I mean, he has a couple of short story collections. I'm assuming he's going to, when he does write for this, it's going to be new stories. But I mean, he could pull from his own story collection as well, because they're just kind of weird and out there.
Or he could
But-
just write something.
Yeah, he can just write
He
something.
writes so many things.
He does. Yes.
Somebody's got to stop him. There's too much writing. Hey, here's something that doesn't need writing. Crips Hemsworth.
Whoa.
He's got a certain kind of walk and blue bandana, right? If I've got my
Oh no.
gang
Yeah.
semiotics right.
Uh-huh.
He's going to play Hulk Hogan in a Hulk Hogan biopic directed by Hangover Todd Phillips guy.
What? This is bizarre to me. This
is real.
Okay. I can't imagine him playing Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is like,
An asshole.
yeah, he is.
Why do we want this at all?
I don't know why we want this.
I don't know if this is WWE films, but I think it's probably for Netflix.
Oh boy, great.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper and Todd Phillips, who are also. I was anticipating what the word I was going to use.
Yes.
With a word sound in it, which is douche. Also douchey. Problematic pair.
Yes.
Crips Hemsworth. First of all, get out of the gang life. You're gonna die. For
I
the
know.
love of God, stop it. You don't have to do this.
No.
Netflix
Does he feel like he has to say yes to every project?
like Men in Black.
Yeah. I just don't. I mean,
Look, if you got your start as young King Arthur on the Guinevere Adventures.
Yeah, I know.
And then moved up to EastEnders. No,
Yeah.
to Neighbours.
Yeah.
EastEnders is a British show.
Okay.
Or Home and Away.
Right. Whichever soap opera.
Water Rats. I gotcha. All right,
okay.
we're moving on. My knowledge of Commonwealth soap operas remains unchallenged. So anyway, I don't know, man. I don't know. Everybody is looking real uncomfortable, and unlike Samuel L. Jackson's character in The Spirit, have egg on their face.
Oh my god!
Because of this whole, like, we saw the Men in Black International trailer, and it did not look very good. But also, it's like, you have a special set of skills. Part of
I know
finding and tracking down African Americans.
Oh, stop it!
Yeah, and it's just like, well, I guess we're just gonna. At some point, you go, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
We spent $200 million on this.
Right.
We don't. First of all, we don't have a soul. We have no souls.
Right.
But we know that you won't spend money on us if we look like we don't have souls, and so we do things like cut, the scene with Olivia Munn and the guy who was a rapist or whatever from The Predator.
Right. Right.
But there's nothing. He's all over this
Liam
film.
Neeson is.
Like, he's the Rip Torn of this film.
Right.
So
you can't cut him out.
No, not without delaying the film.
Like reshooting.
And this film won't succeed at any other time other than summer or whenever it's coming out.
Right. No, I agree with you.
So there's like, we want to be woke, but we need money.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little sweaty, to say the least. But I know like his time at Marvel is probably coming to an end fairly soon, but that doesn't mean you have to do everything that is like that your agent shows you or suggests for you. I just don't. I can't picture him as Hulk Hogan. I just can't. There's a wall there, and I also, like you said, I don't know why we want this, but
what you gonna do, mate? I can see him as Jacko.
Who's Jacko?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Crazy films, crazy heroes,
yes.
Pulpy action.
Yes.
We're talking about pulp superheroes in film, specifically from the 90s today on the show. Was going off of what I was trying to get into before, and we got into something else, and that's fine, is that you were kind of pointing this out. Were you? I can't tell. Anyway, the point is that it's really characters like these characters who came out before Superman.
Yes.
Who came out before Batman. Mm-hmm. Before comics were more than just a piffle.
Sure.
The Yellow Kid.
Right.
Or Tammany Hall, like political cartoons.
Right.
They really began to establish the tropes of a superhero. The Shadow had he had a girlfriend. He had a lair.
Right.
He had a network of sidekicks and individuals who helped him. Uh-huh. He had a distinctive look.
Yes.
He had the ring, He had the idea of these totems. The Phantom has a ring, has a skull
Very true.
ring. We see a lot of these connections. They all have cabbies that work for them.
Yeah. I know, right?
Until Batman's like, I got a plane.
I know, right?
Aren't you guys billionaires?
You're right.
I'm a billionaire.
Yeah.
Millionaire. You can afford a plane.
Yeah, and then he also has a Batmobile.
Get it together, Cranston.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, right. But no, we got to have like a dumpy cab guy to drive us around everywhere.
I know, right? Who we like pay in jewels, or we saved his life, so then he like owes us his life. So,
and part of this has to be there's an Atlas shruggedly kind of situation going on here. Your nation is in the throes of depression, and so they probably want to read about somebody who's not touched by that. They want to read about a Playboy billionaire. They want to read about a Gatsby figure, who also is at the same time going out at night and unilaterally solving the crime problem with the immigrants.
I know.
Look, I'll say this right now before we go on.
Yeah.
So many opportunities, Nazis notwithstanding, they have no nation. They are merely evil.
Right.
So many opportunities to have such backwards, like, racial depictions in these films.
Yes.
And this is the 90s. People have crimped hair and they're starting to get woke, but they're not there yet.
Yeah.
And it, like, for instance, here, if a gay person was in any of these films, it would not have worked out.
No, it would have been a stereotype.
Yes. But lots of, and other than just the rank appropriation that's happening in general from the white guy from Africa, a lot of non-white actors in these films,
yes,
all portrayed sensitively. Except for unless you consider, well, a Chinese guy must be a Chinese pirate from a long tradition of Chinese pirates.
Right.
But there isn't any like, oh, Miss a Phantom, you know, there's none of that, get the chop suey, there's none of that stuff.
Right.
Which is like unbelievable.
It is.
There's a thing, you know, on the Bechdel test podcast, there's a thing where a movie will be awful and they hate it and it doesn't have a good like message for women.
Right.
But for some reason, you get into whole scenes where women are just talking to each other about whatever, and they're like, oh, this one passes.
Yeah,
I don't want to pass
mad
this one,
that
but it passes.
Yeah, sure.
And I got to say, I got to pass all 4 of these films.
Yeah.
They all do pretty good.
I know.
And they're all specifically about the pre-war period where we were worried about foreign invaders from all kinds of areas.
Yeah, that's very true.
And yet they're all fine.
Yeah.
Weird.
It is weird.
That's going to be the end of the compliments as we go forward.
Okay.
Just, you know, off the top of my head. So just beginning here, just starting this little thing off.
Yes.
As you know, 1989.
Yes.
Batman came out. Mm-hmm. And I got to hand it to the people behind Batman.
Yes.
In knowing that committing to having a big screen, big budget adaptation of Batman. Mm-hmm. Because before this, Batman was a joke.
Sure.
He was a TV show.
Yes.
And a movie that was kind of just like a long episode of the TV show.
Uh-huh.
Burgess Meredith, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, okay, fine. And them going, I don't know what it is. Some genius DC producer who I probably know, but I'm not going to look it up. I smell something. Guano.
Oh, no.
I smell guano. The time is right. Let's do this.
Right.
And I remember in the lead up to it, I do remember, people didn't know. People were, there was a huge blitz. You know, the marketing made that movie more than anything else did. Mm-hmm. And it's not my favorite. I like it. But anyway, yeah. Okay, movie, huge marketing push, Prince, Jack Nicholson, the whole thing. And they had a huge smash on their hands. They expected it to be big, and it was huge.
Yes.
And so, naturally, everything is going to have to follow that.
Be a superhero movie.
Thanks, Batman. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to call this show.
Okay.
Thanks, Batman.
Thanks,
And
Batman.
so that led to a bunch of things which were, already, like Dick Tracy was already in process, but it got the green light, like, right away.
Right.
And before we go on, too, we should talk about how the pulp characters were influenced a lot by literary characters, superheroes before there were comics.
Sure.
Like Robin Hood.
Sure, yeah.
Tarzan, like we said before.
Uh-huh.
John Carter and things like that.
Yes.
And a lot of the these heroes who are kind of darker heroes. The pulps are known for being... Pulpy is an adjective for a reason.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of like Dracula in The Shadow.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Which, of course, The Shadow Bob Kane would just tell you right away, or Bill Finger would, that The Shadow just led to Batman. The Batman is Shadow, basically.
Sure.
We wouldn't have one without the other.
Sure.
So yeah, just these...
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like... That makes sense, and I can see the trail for that DNA. I have to say I don't enjoy The Shadow as much as Batman. There's something about Batman. I guess maybe like The Shadow, we don't really know about his past. Not really, anyways. I mean, it's kind of dark.
Remember, a lot of these characters don't have pasts because they weren't designed with one.
Well, right.
And I'm not talking about the IDW comic adaptation where they tie it in to he went to college with Doc Savage or something like that.
Right.
I'm just talking about like the character as conceived. Like somebody like Batman, like we said before, envisioned as a pulp hero, no backstory, and then the burgeoning field of comics is coming
Yes.
up. People are reading it. People write in, well, how did he get the powers? Or what happened? Why is he a bat? And they go, well, all right, we got to come up with something.
We got to come up with something, yeah.
And then also the character has been in heavy, consistent rotation for 80 years.
Yes.
So he's got a mythology. A lot of these characters were hot for a while.
Yes.
Then came off the back burner. And so maybe in the 50s, Lee Falk really gave us a list of all 20 Phantoms up into Kit Walker. But yeah, a lot of these guys, their story is, mysterious.
Yeah.
Man of mystery.
Yeah. Right.
Wait, you want to know everything? Don't be a man of mystery.
I guess. I guess I'm just saying, I think that's one reason why Batman endures is that he has a tragic past, even though he is a wealthy, like, billionaire and he's white and he has all the privilege you could ever ask for.
That's why he's a success in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
In the 60s or in the 50s, he's a success because he's a genius inventor and criminologist.
Right.
And he's going to Suriname to, fight with the multicolored Batman there. And stuff.
Right.
And then when he hits the 60s, he's cool because he has weird adventures and Crane sprays him with the fear gas and he's seeing trippy stuff.
Right.
And then in the 80s, he's cool because he just silently, wordlessly beats up guys, and he locks the cagey beast, in a sewer to die of starvation.
Right.
And he's popular because he's adaptable.
No, you're right. He's evolved over
And
the
these guys
years.
all disappeared because shooting people in the face wasn't cool anymore.
Right.
Let's talk about our first guy.
Okay.
We're talking about the movie Dick Tracy from 1990.
Yes.
Which is an Amblin. No, excuse me. It is of course, a Touchstone picture, which is Disney, basically. Buena Vista Pictures. It's their quote-unquote adult line.
Yeah. It's pretty dark for Disney. I'd say.
Of course, Dick Tracy is a character that was created by Chester Gould in 1931, and he would continue to write and draw the strip Dick Tracy for most of that decade. And, of course, it was taken up by other people. Waned in popularity, but always was known as Dick Tracy protects Center City or whatever, from Flat Top.
Right.
And The Brow, and Big Boy Caprice.
Right.
And Prune Face.
Yes.
And a cavalcade of villains who are defined mainly by their weird facial features.
I know, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. Was it almost always like a strip in like the newspaper, or was it ever like a full-blown comic?
I'm sure at some point it has become a full-blown comic, but it was mainly a newspaper strip.
Okay.
And then, of course, like a lot of the things at that time, became very popular, became a radio show, became a series of films. Just assume that for all of these characters going forward.
Okay.
But we're just kind of talking about these modern movies.
It's very colorful.
That was always a part of it, yes. Yeah. And Tracy, I mean Beatty! Beatty always wanted to do that.
Okay, sure.
He had optioned this or had been looking to make it since the early 80s, basically.
Okay, sure.
Like after, I don't know, I'm sure I could, once again, didn't research a whole lot, but I'm sure that he's just always loved the character. He should. He was around to read it when he was a little kid.
Right.
He's an old man. Warren Beatty is old. But as soon as he came off of Bonnie and Clyde, he's like, Dick Tracy, that's my next picture.
Right.
And so it got shopped around for a long time, and it was at, I think, Universal for a while. At one point, they wanted Walter Hill to come on.
I don't know who that is.
You just pretend like you do.
Okay.
You've seen The Warriors. Walter Hill.
I don't remember.
All right. Anyway, she's kidding everybody. She knows who Walter Hill is. And Walter Hill wanted to make it, let's do, I want to do a serious thing. This is going to be,
I see.
guy can have a prune face or whatever, but this is going to be like violent. It's going to be like a crime film.
Okay, right.
And
like
Beatty was like, no,
stuff.
I want day glow. I want, 4-color, like a moving newspaper strip.
Right.
And so that won out. They were looking at Clint Eastwood to be the title character for a while.
Oh, wow.
And Spielberg was attached at one point, and it feels very Spielberg.
It does.
But eventually it just came down to Warren Beatty's like, well, I guess I'll do it. What a fateful decision that was.
Yeah,
Who knows what a good Dick Tracy film might have been like.
Yeah, I know.
We didn't get one here.
No.
What happens in the movie?
Dick Tracy is a cop.
He's a cop.
Yeah. And he kind of has like some personal vendettas against some of these,
he's a bad cop.
Yeah, some of these,
both in terms of execution and like his morality. He is not a good cop.
Against some of these mob characters, especially like Big Boy, he like is obsessed with getting Big Boy off the street.
Right, which up to this point, and it is like a quote unquote kids movie, kind of. We don't know the details of anything. We know that they run the rackets.
Yes.
And we see in a series of montages that many old news vendors have their 45 cents taken from them.
Right.
By Flat Top and the thugs.
Right.
But we don't know anything about Big Boy or what he does, what his business is.
Right.
And and as the movie opens, he's knocking off Lips Manalus.
Yes.
To take his business because, and people like make a joke like, so Lips Manalus owns this club. Well, you want to be in show business? Apparently he does.
He actually does.
He takes the performance of the songs very seriously.
He does. And I have to mention, of course, played by Al Pacino.
This movie is a cavalcade of stars.
It is.
There are stars that are evident, and then there are stars who are covered in a ton of makeup.
Yes.
So you're not even sure. But
you've
got, of course, Al Pacino,
yes.
and somebody high-fived themselves when they cast Al Pacino as a crime boss.
I know, right?
And then somebody else high-fived themselves when they cast James Caan as another crime boss.
I know.
Who they probably couldn't have shot him to death. Because it's a PG-13 or whatever, RPG.
Right.
So they blew him up instead.
I know,
but, they thought about it.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't make it to the toll booth, or just something like that. We get it.
Yes.
And of course, Dustin Hoffman is in it.
Yes, he plays Mumbles.
Yeah. Who else? Paul Sorvino plays Lips Manalus.
Mandy Patinkin.
Mandy Patinkin
plays 88 Keys, the piano player.
Yeah, he actually has like a role of some substance.
Yes, he does. Do you think he actually plays piano?
He sword fights with his left hand. He does everything.
All right.
Yeah. He's an asshole.
Is he really?
Well, that's what I hear.
Oh, it's too bad.
It's that sort of, in the same way that like Brent Spiner was an asshole.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm a professional and I take things seriously. And it's like, yeah, but if you just cracked up with the cast in between takes, that'd probably be fine too. Right?
Yeah, right.
We'd still believe you were an android.
Right, exactly.
I'm making a lot of assumptions about Brent Spiner. I'm sure he's real nice.
Well.
But anyway, when you bring him a picture of Darth Vader, he'll sign it. But I bet the first couple times that happened, he got real mad.
Yeah.
And then he realized that he couldn't make any money if he got mad at people.
Right.
Yes. Kathy Bates is in it. Now, Kathy Bates was still kind of up and coming, but she did win an Oscar in this year.
Yeah.
Playing opposite James Caan.
Yes.
In a movie called Misery.
Yes.
So her playing the stenographer who has like one line.
I know.
A lot of very famous actors were in this for fun, I guess.
I know, right?
Just for fun?
Yeah. And of course, Madonna plays Breathless, so we gotta mention that.
What's the story again? What happened?
So Dick Tracy is a cop. He's trying to get Big Boy off the street. He's dating this girl named Tess. They find this kid who's called The Kid, and they're threatening to send him to the orphanage because he is an orphan living on the street. They end up taking care of him, and he goes to arrest Big Boy that night.
Dick Van Dyke is in this too.
Oh yeah, Dick Van Dyke is in this too. He plays like the DA, the crooked DA.
You're not out. You're out. When you're dead, you're out. You are not out. Yeah.
So they arrest Big Boy on not really that much grounds, and like he said to like at the crime scene with Lips Manalus, there were walnut shells, and he said, "Do fingerprints on those." Well, I didn't come up with anything, so then they couldn't keep him.
Bad cop.
Yeah.
Not
So Big Boy gets released, and he, and he's just like, "Yeah, what are you gonna do?" And people are like, what are you gonna do about Dick Tracy? And he's like, I'll take care of it, And the movie kind of progresses from there. There's
Dick
a couple
Tracy
of
does
montages.
A lot of illegal search and seizure.
Yes.
He conceals evidence.
Yes.
He, I think it's supposed to be established that he is acting professional, and yet why doesn't he interview Breathless with someone else in the room?
That's a very good question.
It's always Madonna sticking her butt in his face.
I know.
And he's like not moving or acting at all.
I know.
And Warren Beatty's supposed to be a better actor than that. And the script sucks. Although it's by the guys that wrote Top Gun. I'm not saying Top Gun's great, but it's just, the answer is that, he was doing her. It's very famously known that they were going out.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that back
right.
then. But yeah, whatever. So Yeah, and then he's a bad cop. All the crime guys are meeting because now that Big Boy has taken over the club.
Yes.
He proposes to them that they're going to organize.
Yes.
And they're going to be like
work together.
a business,
Yes.
And he's going to be the Napoleon of crime.
Yes.
And not like the other one though. And Tracy climbs up on a ledge, I guess, so he can hear this.
Yes.
But he doesn't really hear much. And then James Congo is the one guy, and this happens in another one of these movies. This is another trope.
Yes.
I don't think so. I'm out.
Right.
Okay, well, go ahead. His car explodes.
Yes.
And then everybody's like, Tracy, get out of there. And he gets no information. We don't know anything. There's no point in him going up there.
Nope.
He's a terrible cop.
He is a terrible cop, and his partners aren't that much better. In fact,
really
I think they're
bad at
worse.
this. Yeah, and his partners are complete imbeciles.
Yes. And like, does he even work with like the chief that much? I can't even remember now.
Charles Durning is the chief.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, he's the chief that's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give this kid a donut.
Yeah, I know,
That's about
right?
it.
Like, he watches the kid sometimes. Yeah.
Charlie Corsmo as the kid.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
I don't know who that is.
Can't Hardly Wait?
Who is he in Can't Hardly Wait?
The redheaded kid in Can't Hardly Wait?
Oh, okay.
He's from here.
Is he?
He went to Breck.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, you're just disappointed.
It's hard to do this show with somebody so young sometimes.
Sorry.
But not young enough. I'm going to replace you with a younger one.
Great. I don't want to hear that.
He's literally from here.
Okay. All right.
It was a big deal back then.
I believe you.
A lot of interviews on WCCO.
I believe that as well.
He's a great actor.
Yeah?
And he was in a couple other things.
Okay.
Like Can't Hardly Wait, your favorite movie.
I never said it was my favorite
Striped shirt,
movie.
red hair. At the beginning, they're talking about the plan. They got to go into this party, right?
Right.
And he's like, okay, you're Boba Fett, you're Grand Moff Tarkin. And his friends are like, I don't want to be Grand Moff Tarkin. I want to be Boba Fett. Okay, you're both kiss dolls. Remember that? It's Can't Hardly Wait.
Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Finish the plot.
Okay. I think that's pretty much
Oh, now you want to sketch it?
Yeah.
What about the part where a mysterious character with no face approaches Big Boy through 88 and says, you want this you can't kill Tracy because you're the number one suspect.
Right.
But you want this Tracy problem taken care of. I can do
help
it for
you. Yes.
And eventually he has to, over the series, a series of montages, we find out that things aren't going well for the Caprice crime dynasty.
Right.
And so he agrees to it. It's telling that the best storytelling takes place in those montages. The story moves the fastest and the cleanest in those montages.
I would agree with
Everything
that.
else is just like, so you had a certain amount of times that we decided that she's Breathless is going to stick her butt in Tracy's face.
Right.
And then eventually that's going to push Tess over the edge.
Right. I know. And like, I think you mentioned this too. Like, why is like Breathless like the main love interest in this movie?
That's another trope that is going to get repeated.
Yeah.
It's that one girl is not enough.
Yeah, I know.
Our hero has to turn the bad girl good.
I know, right? It's so ridiculous. And like, he saves Tess towards the end of the movie and they hug. It's like the most chaste reunion ever. And like, she's been kidnapped and missing for like weeks.
No, did she then poop in a can?
I know. And then like what's a No Face? Is that the name or
the blank?
The blank. No Face is Ghibli.
Yeah.
So the blank, they take the mask off and it's Breathless. Surprise. And after she's been shot, she kisses Dick Tracy. Again, this is their second kiss. And he goes and meets his girlfriend Tess right after this and they just hug again.
Yeah.
It's bizarre to me. It's weird.
You know what I think was bizarre?
Huh.
You've got a movie with a guy with a tiny little face.
Yeah.
Which did not work. I mean, how do you do it without CG?
I know.
But it just doesn't. It just looks like he should be big head.
I know,
big head,
right?
regular size face.
Yeah.
And prune face. And so apparently you can have all these like physical deformities. But a guy with no face, I mean, how does he eat? But,
right.
That's
That's a mask.
Accept it up until the point that it's pulled off. It just made all the other prosthetics feel like these
They're
are just a
fake.
bunch of cosplaying criminals. Why do they all wear these weird faces? Show your real face.
Right?
It's sort of like breaking the suspension of disbelief. You've
You're
convinced
right.
me up to this point that a man can have no face in this world.
Right.
But then he pulls it off, and I'm, blind ambitions under there.
Right, exactly.
Let's talk about her. Has she ever done a good job in a movie? And don't give me that
I
desperately seeking Susan's underrated crap.
Okay,
I don't disagree, but
I don't know if I've ever seen her really, really shine in a film. I mean,
you liked her in The Spy Who Shagged Me.
I liked her in A League of Their Own, but
So the answer's no then.
yeah, I think so.
I say junk food cinema. I'll say A
No.
League of Their Own's bad. I don't care.
Wow. I liked League of Their Own, but maybe I need to rewatch it with more critical eyes.
Well, she's not good in this, and
She's not
I
great.
will lay that at the feet of the director and not her necessarily.
Yes.
I think that we all know that performing musically is not the same as acting, although they're very similar.
Right.
But many singers fail to transition to acting.
Yes, I would agree with
And
that.
I think that she was absolutely not getting the support she needed to play this very thin character, to be totally honest.
Right.
But you think if there's anything that she could do, she could vamp.
Right.
And it's not really even pulling that off. That being said, the musical performances, she shines in those. Those are the best parts, like for her. Even though I don't think that. And I was trying to think, Taylor Dane, who else could have played this character at this time?
Right.
Probably just her,
Yes.
with her kind of Jean Harlow sort of looks.
Yes.
But her voice is, it's a very 80s poppy kind of reedy voice, and it's not
Right.
a real torch singer voice.
Right.
So that only slightly takes away from, the musical sequences, which were probably some of the best parts of the film.
They were.
Written by Stephen Sondheim.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, a
Music
score
by Danny Elfman.
massaged within an inch of its life by
Yes.
Danny Elfman.
Yes.
The shiatsu technique of writing a film score.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You didn't have any complaints about Tommy guns in this?
No. No,
A lot of Tommy guns in these movies.
I've learned from you that...
You're cured of your Tommy gun thing.
Yeah. I thought only bad guys had Tommy guns, but apparently good guys have Tommy guns as well. I know that now,
half of Tracy's lines in this film are rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat.
I know.
I like how he's just punching guys in Technicolor trench coats
Yes.
all movie, and then the very end, I know that they're being rushed at by a bunch of goons with Tommy guns in their cars, but the cops just go full. They just expend all remaining ammunition on these guys. Do we have the evidence? It doesn't matter. You don't have to try a body.
I know, right? It just seems super unethical. Well, there's this one scene where he's backlit and he's in his yellow trench coat and his yellow fedora and he just has a Tommy gun and it's just going back and forth. And I swear I saw that in the trailer.
Yeah, he's just walking towards the camera.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And she's singing "Always Get My Man" or
Right.
whatever. Yeah. Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah. This is the first time I've actually seen this film, so I missed out on seeing it when it came out. I don't know if I just wasn't old enough when it came out or what, but
Probably not.
But somebody definitely ruined the surprise twist for me that the blank was Madonna.
Yeah.
Because I definitely knew that before. So
I want to say that Henry Silva plays Influence in this. Henry Silva is a character actor. He's got that very... They basically just took his face and then just added a little extra to his face. His face already kind of looks like that.
Oh, okay.
He played... it's kind of problematic, but he played the Chinese assassin in Manchurian Candidate that Frank Sinatra has a kung fu fight with.
Okay.
Catherine O'Hara is in a non-speaking role. She's like the one female crime boss at the table.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you who she played.
Yeah. And I want to praise... praise Glenn Headley, who is probably playing a mom on some ABC sitcom now, but she was great in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and then she was in this, and can't think of too much else that she did.
Oh, really?
She's just one of those, talented comedic actresses who we just couldn't find a spot for.
Okay, sure. That's too bad.
A real Julie Haggerty.
Okay.
if you will.
All right.
And also the guy that plays Flat Top,
Yeah.
William Forsythe, another character actor who's been in a lot of stuff, plays a lot of bad guys.
I feel like I know that name.
And when I first saw the film, I hated him.
Okay.
But I think I realized that it's because he's so good.
Yeah.
Like, he's just so gross and weird, and
He is.
He's a really effective henchman. A lot of the other henchmen are dummies, and like he's good, and he's cruel, and he's beating up news vendors left and right.
Who's the
Mom
guy
and pop diner owners?
Yes.
You can just see him like shaking down some nuns.
Yes.
For the offering money.
Who's the other character who's always with him who has like the weird laugh?
Itchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's played by Etta Ross, another character actor.
Yeah.
Last thoughts about
lots of
Tracy?
character actors in
Tracy?
all these films.
Tracy?
Yeah, I know.
I've got a thought.
Yeah?
It's coming.
What's your thought?
Oh, it's gone.
Oh, okay. He's a horrible boyfriend, I just have to say. And that's one other comment I want to put in
the
there.
long-suffering female romantic interest is a factor in these stories for real.
And I feel bad for Tess. And, like, she goes home and she kind of, like, leaves the city for a while. And, like, it's like, I can't deal with it. Most of these films take place in New York City, too. At least part of them. She, like... She's not sure she wants to be with him, but at the end, after she gets kidnapped, or maybe before she gets kidnapped, she decides she wants to be with him. And
she's not like the other girls.
No.
You're going to see that quite a bit in these films.
Yes,
so
exactly.
She can throw a baseball.
I know. Into a trash can.
Which doesn't, like, she threw his baseball away?
Yeah, I know. I think he was actually kind of mad about it, too. Like, he was like, why did you do that? But, like, at the very end of the film... I guess he's not good with words or something all of a sudden, Tracy. And, like...
It's funny.
He, like, throws her the ring.
He is good at murdering people.
Yeah, I know. So...
Yeah, he throws her the ring.
Yeah.
How romantic.
It's so romantic.
We're not going to keep track of these at all, but if you had to give it a rating, what would you rate it?
Out of 5, I think I'd give it a 3.
I'd give it...
It'd be nice.
That is being nice.
Yeah.
I'd give it 2 Eat Lead Tracy's written on the wall in bullet holes.
Yes. At the beginning of the film.
Yeah. There was a... way back on the old Late Night with David Letterman, they did a sketch where Biff, the stage manager Biff, was... He became a superhero. He became a Dick Tracy type character.
Okay, sure.
He was busting people, and they're like, "Well, I got my rights," and he's like, "No, you don't. I'm cleaning up this town." just mow everybody down with his Tommy gun. So, anyway,
accurate.
Oh, Biff. Well, let's move on from there to The Rocketeer, which is kind of a standout in this because it is not technically from that era. It was created in 1982 to evoke the feeling of the Saturday matinee heroes.
Homage.
It is an homage.
Yes.
That's right. It was created by Dave Stevens.
Not Dan Stevens of, what's it called?
Right. Legion.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Legion and Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's been called Dave before.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and it was with Pacific Comics, and he is... well, you tell me, what happens in this film?
Well, the Rocketeer is a pilot. He's kind of
stunt show pilot?
Yeah.
Don't worry, folks. It's all part of the show.
What did you call it again?
A stunt pilot?
A stunt pilot, yeah. And he's kind of a hotshot. And he has a girlfriend who was played by Jennifer Connelly. And he's got a mentor who also works at the airfield, and they live together. So I don't really know exactly what their living arrangement. Played by Alan Arkin. Yeah, played by Alan Arkin. So I kind of feel like Alan Arkin's like his mentor. So, but he's not his real dad. So
you're not my real dad.
Yeah, But it's like they have that kind of relationship almost. Most of the film takes place either at would you call it an airport?
Airfield.
Airfield. Yeah, and then there's
this is the busiest airfield in Southern California,
right?
Wine country or whatever.
Okay, and then there's
because everything happens on this stupid airfield.
I know. And then there's like this cafe that's
in the very end.
airfield.
They go to the observatory in LA for the finale. Yeah,
you're right. There are these mobsters that while he is testing a plane that they're going to use for a show, and they worked very hard on this plane.
Like a race.
Yeah. There are a couple of mobsters that are chasing each other and shooting at each other.
One of whom, Max Gradenchik,
yes,
who plays Ram on DS9.
Yes. And they shoot at his plane because it's like they don't want any witnesses, that sort of thing.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Why are they flying over a police chase in the first place?
I don't know. But Ram has stolen something, and he doesn't even know what it is.
Yeah.
And he hides it in a plane.
As you do.
As you do. And then his car explodes. Well, later, what is the Rocketeer's name again? I don't even remember.
Cliff Secord.
Thank you. Cliff Secord. Cliff gets into this plane where Max Gradenchik has hidden this thing, and he finds it, and along with Alan Arkin's character, and they decide they're going to test it out. It looks like a rocket of some kind. So they get this statue that's somewhere on the airfield, and they attach the pack to it, and they do a test, and its head kind of gets melted off. So they're going to do some tests. They're going to change some things. Alan Arkin's going to improve it and create a helmet and everything.
Yeah.
And then Cliff is maybe going to fly it. But Alan Arkin thinks it's too dangerous. Well, what happens is Cliff is late for the actual air show. He was going to fly a certain plane, but it had already taken off. And he's like, hey, who's flying the plane? And it's one of the other guys at the airfield. He didn't want Cliff to get fired or get in trouble. And he's dressed as a clown because that's the thing that happens sometimes at these air shows.
Yeah, for wing walkers.
Yes. And
do you know that Nick Fury got his start in a flying circus before he was a government agent? Yeah.
That's crazy.
He was a wing walker. So imagine Nicholas Fury. I guess this is after World War II, and he lost an eye.
Right.
With a red nose and a funny wig on. Walking around the wing of a plane, yeah.
So then, he gets in trouble somehow. This guy is dressed as a clown. So then Cliff, grabs the pack, puts the helmet on, and goes and saves him. And people are like, oh my God.
Who is that?
Yeah. And the guy who owns the airfield, they're like, you have to give us a better name. I can't remember the name he gave him at first. And then he came up with Rocketeer.
The Rock-a-Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
And then he's killed by a man with giant hands.
Yes.
Played by Tiny Ron.
Yeah, exactly.
Lothar.
Yeah.
Again, all these movies are connected.
I know.
They must have made this and thought, hey, weird plastic faces worked for Dick Tracy.
I know, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a Touchstone picture. This is a Walt Disney picture. This was good enough to have the Walt Disney name on it. And it was funny because, hey, no hate for Dan. Let's call him Dan Stevens. No hate for Dan Stevens. Guy saw an opportunity and he left Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
No hate for Dave Stevens. He sold this thing the year after he created it.
Mm-hmm.
He got some interest. I think he sold it to the guy who did some of the Friday the 13th movies.
Okay, sure.
I can't remember his name, but he's a producer. And his idea was, okay, I see what we got here. Why don't we do a low-budget, black and white throwback kind of piece? And that was what they were kicking around for a while, and that didn't end up happening. And then he basically got the rights back, or gave the writers that did end up doing it, Danny Bilson and Paul Demeaux, as just an open sort of option on it. Just do whatever you want. And eventually they got it to Disney. in the mid-'80s.
Right.
And then it took the rest of this time just to get it made because Disney wasn't happy with it. Michael Eisner loved to get specifically involved in a lot of the things like the projects that Disney was doing.
Sure.
And so they wanted to have it one way, and then it was another way, and the writers were like hired and fired 3 times in a row.
Oh, great.
And and nobody was happy with with the end result.
Okay.
Which was about $45 million on a $40 million budget. So
right.
This was not a success.
No.
The director, Joe Johnston, who would go on to success and other stuff, he basically remade this movie as Captain America, the First Avenger,
right.
under the Marvel banner.
Yes.
But notice that he hasn't directed any movies for Marvel since.
Yes.
He got them to hire Billy Campbell, who was unknown then and really unknown now.
Yeah. He pretty much did this, and that was more or less it.
Yeah, a couple soap operas.
Yeah.
He's the outrageous Okana on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Okay.
As we'll always point out.
Yes.
That's about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Sorvino is also in this film.
Yes.
Every show we should just make a graph for all the movies we talk about and all the connections in between them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
they definitely exist.
Yes.
Terry O'Quinn appears as Howard Hughes because Howard Hughes was pre-Scorsese considered to be a real genius and just forget about those jars full of pee.
Right.
You mentioned Jennifer Connelly, who is still bad. I think Jennifer Connelly has grown by leaps and bounds.
I think so, too.
As an actress, but still bad at this point.
She's not great.
Not great. There are 2 big reasons why that she gets cast in a lot of films.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy Dalton is in this and is great and has never been fully appreciated and has always
underrated.
Either made the wrong choices or been forced to. And he plays Neville Sinclair, a clear Errol Flynn analog, who is not just a Nazi agent. Like, he's speaking German with a German accent.
I know.
So somehow he's like a German sleeper agent who was born under the reign of the Kaiser and then sent to America to infiltrate America by becoming one of the most famous film stars of all time.
Yes.
This is a long con.
It is a long con.
But it works.
Yeah.
And it's almost kind of insulting for Errol Flynn because Errol Flynn was, he was a patriot. He was actually denied. He tried to enlist and was denied and 4F'd because I think he had active malaria, and he had a collapsed lung at one point, and several unspecified STDs. So he was said, no, you cannot be in the army. But he did like a lot of the other stars at the time, and did the war bond thing, and so to recast him as a Nazi sympathizer is strange.
I know.
It's really weird.
It is weird.
And I don't know who added that, but it was all to facilitate Jenny Blake's role, who as a girl who's, not like the other girls and has a real boring name, they at least tried to do something with her,
Yeah.
At the beginning of the story, she's kind of fed up with... She's not Tess Trueheart.
Yeah.
She's fed up with Cliff, and she's kind of ready to move on.
Yes.
And also is a bit of a star effer because Neville Sinclair shows interest in her, but over the course of the story, she... figures out what's going on and kind of plays Sinclair as well and kind of realizes that I don't know what she's going to do after this.
Right.
Can she still be an actress?
Right.
The lead actor of the picture she was involved in died in a gigantic blimp accident that destroyed the Hollywoodland sign.
I know.
Does she have a career anymore?
Right.
But she realizes that, the things that she thought were important aren't quite as important. And now she's going to have babies.
Right.
That took a turn. That took a turn.
Yeah. Anyway. There is a club in this movie as well. Neville Sinclair takes Jenny there.
Yeah, owned by Eddie Valentine, played by Paul Sorvino.
Yes.
Who is a gangster.
Yes.
But
he's
an
patriot.
American.
That's right.
I sell drugs to black people because they're animals. It's from Godfather. And I run the rackets and the girls, but I'll tell you one thing I'm not. And that's a fascist stooge.
Yeah, I know, right?
Give me that Tommy gun.
I know.
USA. USA.
And I can't remember. The singer was somebody well-known.
Melora Hardin.
Yeah.
Jan from The Office.
Yes.
She's another one who is, she's beautiful. She's really funny, and she can do drama. And she just never really. There's probably some big role that I'm forgetting, but she's never really broke out.
Yeah.
But she gets to lip sync in this.
Yes, she does. Like, the Rocketeer is always sticking gum on his plane, so they stick gum on his rocket pack.
Who
weird.
owns Beeman's gum? Is Beeman still a
I
brand?
know.
Because
I don't know.
somebody wanted to force Beeman's gum into every scene in this film.
I know.
Did we even get to the end of the plot?
Anyway,
Neville Sinclair is a Nazi.
Wants the rocket.
He wants the rocket invented by Howard Hughes so
Yes.
he can make Nazi rocket troopers.
Yes.
It's all basically just a spin on like the old Commander Cody serials or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and then Cliff Secord foils his plot by never firing a shot, really,
Yes.
running into a lot of things. Almost getting stabbed by a map compass.
Yes.
Which led to my great ad lib. No, have some compassion.
Yes.
Which you laugh at now because we're on air, but you just deaded me
Sorry.
when we were watching the film.
Yes. Yeah, and like Neville Sinclair and like his huge henchman. What was his name?
Lothar.
Even? Yeah. Get killed from the blimp and everything, and they somehow do they jump onto a plane? How do they get rescued again?
They're running on the top of the thing, and then
Yes.
Howard Hughes flies in with his experimental plane,
Right.
and picks them up,
Right.
because that's a thing.
Yeah.
And the whole thing looks like 2 cents. It just doesn't.
It looks super
It
cheap.
doesn't look all that great.
Yeah.
We'll get to this in the Phantom as well. There was now it's all CGI, but there was a thing back then where it's like, this is a crap picture with a low budget, but we are going to make a man hang from a plane. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
And if we do that, people will shit themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Will we?
I know.
We did not.
No.
Oh, I should have said that. I can't remember how much it was made for, but Dick Tracy made like about $130 million, I think, at the U.S. box office,
Okay.
which, $1990. That's a lot of money.
It's not bad at all.
But
Yeah.
no sequel.
Yeah. I know.
So we've got kind of evolving out of the worthless girlfriend thing, but not much.
Right.
We've got a goofy dude who's unassuming.
Yes.
Unlike the other characters that we're going to talk about, no real agenda to fight crime is kind of thrown
No.
into it.
Yeah. Kind of becomes a hero.
And I never read the comic, but presumably he, finds more of a purpose in heroism rather
Right.
than just, well, I'm just caught up in this.
I'm a good guy.
He seems like kind of a loser.
Yeah.
I don't know how old he's supposed to be, but like his parents are dead. I think his dad was a flying ace or whatever, and so everybody in the town seems to kind of take care of him.
Yes.
But they never really like steer into that too much.
No.
Because I don't know, you don't want a real depressing loser to be the hero of your
hero?
Disney movie,
Yeah.
which would have been interesting.
Right. But yeah, they didn't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing this and liking this a lot as a young kid.
Yeah.
But, it was before I looked at it with like discerning eyes and stuff like that, and like
Oh, those discerning eyes.
I know.
Always let me down.
But it's not as good as I remembered it being. And I do like that Jenny is not helpless, and she she hits Neville Sinclair in the head and stuff like that after he kind of kidnaps her.
He absolutely kidnapped
Yeah.
her. But then he puts his talent is acting
Yes.
and convincing people.
Yes.
So he basically he kind of threatens, but kind of he bullies, Eddie Valentine, this crime boss.
Yes.
Eddie Valentine, isn't that Bob Hoskins' character from Roger Rabbit?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, Roger Rabbit is another film that could maybe fit into
It's not
this.
a pulp thing,
Okay.
and it was a book. It wasn't ever
A comic book.
a strip or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess if we're doing the Rocketeer, and so he browbeats some gangsters who could probably just shoot him. He kidnaps a woman, but
Yes.
then flips it into, I'm trying to help you, and your beauty is, that eyebrow's got me, and so yeah, I just that's his strength. That's
Yes.
what he's doing. Then he has a fist fight with a Rocket Man at the end, but.
Right.
With his German ninja commandos who come out of... We're in the middle of Los Angeles.
I know.
It's bad enough that this guy has inserted himself into the Hollywood machine for, I'm assuming, 20 years.
Right.
But why do that when you can have ninja Nazis appear out of
I
nowhere?
know.
Just do that.
I know. It's so crazy. You literally are like, what is happening? Why are there so many people all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So
did the Matrix change everything as far as kung fu goes? Because I know we had kung fu before that, but just all this Dick Tracy. There's no fight choreography. There's no I feel like the Matrix and John Woo, before that really upped the ante in terms of if you're going to have a Captain America movie, then you plot the action sequences before anything else.
Right.
So Cap's going to throw his shield, it's going to bounce off a guy's head. He's going to kick a truck, and that's going to knock a guy over. He's going to catch his shield, flip over another guy. The bullets are going to ricochet, hit something else.
Yes.
He's going to pick up a table leg, or he's going to throw a knife into a guy's hand, kick a guy off a ship. All that stuff is planned. And this is just Cliff Secord, don't worry, I got this. Flies in. All right, let her go. Take off the rocket pack. Okay.
I know.
There's no fight. There's nothing. It's
I know. It
really makes the compass scene stand out a lot more. Really makes it very, very pivotal.
Jeez.
And very ripe for parody.
All right.
All right. Well, rate it.
I feel like I want to give this one a 3 also, but yeah, I'll give this one a 3 also.
I will also give this one a 2. 2 wads of chewing gum.
Oh wow.
These are not great films.
That's a good way of...
These are not great films.
Yeah, I know.
Let's move on to 1994's The Shadow.
Yes.
Now, here comes that weird story about The Shadow, and I'm going to get this wrong.
Okay.
But there was a detective story magazine. It was called Detective Story Magazine. This is in the very early 30s, and they had these hard-boiled tales, because Dashiell Hammett was in the 20s and stuff like that. It was all this pre-war or interwar period stuff, Gunsels and dames and private dicks and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And so they ran those kind of stories, but they were flagging, and they hired an advertising agency.
Okay.
To come up with a character that could help bolster their sales.
Okay.
And so they came up with this character, the Shadow.
Okay.
Who was basically only the narrator. He was the Rod Serling of these detective stories.
Okay.
So he'd be you want to know about crime? I'll tell you about crime.
Right.
Picture a man, Eddie Paskey. He was a small-time hood or whatever.
Right.
And the end of it was always, the weed of crime bears bitter fruit.
Sure.
Who knows what evil lurks in the minds of men? The Shadow knows, that kind of thing.
Okay, sure.
And the character went on to be a radio show and became so popular, it killed the magazine. Because people wouldn't go to the newsstand and go, give me that detective story magazine. They go, give me that Shadow magazine. And they're there is no Shadow. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not real.
Right.
So they had to back form all of this into a character that could then go into a magazine called The Shadow. And now that he has become an active character, they have to come up with a design. So they come up with this design. He's got the hat, he's got the scarf and everything. And an author named Walter B. Gibson wrote the first stories about the Shadow.
Okay.
So the Shadow it kind of conflicts because, like Superman, kryptonite was invented for the radio show.
Right.
Perry White was invented for the radio show.
Sure.
All this stuff. A lot of his origin came from the radio show and got grafted onto his pulp origin.
Sure.
So he's originally Kent Allard.
Okay.
A World War I flying ace.
Sure.
Who explores the Orient and learns the secrets of the Orient. Ancient Chinese secret, huh?
Right.
And at first he comes back and he fights crime as the Shadow, but at first he finds this playboy named Lamont Cranston and steals his identity.
Okay.
Because it affords him the opportunity to move about. It's really complicated. So Lamont Cranston is like a playboy who leaves the country often. So when he's out of the country, Kent Allard pretends to be Lamont Cranston. And when Cranston finds out, he basically threatens Cranston. He's like, you're going to let me keep doing this or I'm going to, I don't know, tell people you're a commie or something like that.
Okay.
And later on, that kind of got dropped, and he is just Lamont Cranston.
Okay. Weird.
Yeah. So he's a billionaire Stop me if you've heard this one. He's a billionaire playboy.
Yep.
Who goes out at night.
Yep.
And scares criminals.
Yep.
Heard that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Zorro, exactly.
Right.
Zorro.
Right. Not Batman at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens specifically in this dumb movie?
Well, so in this movie, it's not really clear how he ended up in Tibet, or
It is. Or it's not.
because he.
So I haven't read 90 years of Shadow stories,
Right.
but I think a lot of this is embellished for the film.
Okay.
But it's not clear. I think at some point in the Shadow's history, it's said that he crashes, like his plane crashes in the east.
Sure.
It's a real Doctor Strange situation.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, something else I can steal.
Right.
And so that's how he gets there. But the movie has it that, there's a reason that he knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men. It's because he was evil.
Yeah. And so, like, at the beginning, he's, like, controlling this opium ring. And
He's a white Fu Manchu, basically.
yes, he's got the long fingernails. He's kind of weird. He's feeding,
Howard Hughes,
yeah.
long fingernails.
Yeah,
It's all connected. Graph.
He's feeding a dog some weird food underneath the table. And they bring
the details.
I know. They bring this guy in, like his henchmen do, and he wants to kill him for some reason. I didn't really catch why. But this guy, like, threatens to kill this other guy who is like Lamont Cranston's like, you've been a really great friend. You're like a father to me. And he's like, thank you.
Oh,
and
his
then
name is Yinko. It's not Lamont Cranston.
Oh, well.
He's Yinko.
Yinko. And then he says to the other guys, shoot through him.
Yes.
And so...
like my business mentor, Jack Welch, would say.
Right.
Shoot through him. Lemon. Yeah.
So he shoots through them. He gets kidnapped by... well...
The minions of the Ancient One.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like the Ancient One or whatever, he's all like, I'm going to train you and blah, blah, blah.
I am a young boy or whatever.
Yes.
That means I'm old.
Right. And he's kind of mysterious and he like can teleport himself and all this stuff.
Yeah. He has the ability to cloud the minds of men.
Yes.
And he is going to impart that ability to the Shadow.
Yes.
In exchange for the Shadow renouncing his evil ways.
Yes.
And becoming the Shadow.
Yeah. And then it goes to 7 years later in New York.
Yes.
That's how the movie starts. And he is beating up on some gangsters. One in particular who has committed murder. He's like, you're going to turn yourself in. And he doesn't really show himself. He's kind of a shadow, if you will.
Cement overshoes is something else that goes on the graph.
Yes.
Now I got to make this graph.
I know.
Hurry, let's make this show shorter so I have less to listen
Okay. So he does
Where
that.
does Margot Lane come in?
Margot Lane comes in when he goes to the club in this movie where there is another torch singer singing.
Yes.
And he's meeting his uncle, who is the chief of police.
Yes, that's from the comics.
Yeah. And
I should mention the Shadow also radio plays, played by Orson Welles for a while.
Oh, really?
Yes. A movie or two, and then has had was a strip, but had a long comics publication. And they're still making Dynamite, or somebody's got the Shadow license now.
Sure. So he sees Margot Lane and he asks his uncle, who is that? And he orders wine for her and he goes over and introduces himself.
Oh, I know a little German.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong movie.
Yeah.
She's a
Lamont
socialite
Cranston.
and daughter of Ian McKellen.
Yes.
Gandalf is an atomic scientist.
Yes,
and
exactly.
inventor who doesn't know the difference between red and green.
No, because he's colorblind.
But they never really say colorblind. They just make him seem like he forgets.
He's dotty or something like that. I know.
We hadn't discovered what colorblindness was.
Right. I know. And he also works with oh gosh, help me out.
Mo?
Yeah.
The cab driver?
No, not Mo. Cab drivers.
Cab
Peter
drivers
Boyle.
on the graph?
No, Ian McKellen, a scientist, works with another scientist played by help me out. I can't think of his name. Why can't I think of his name?
I don't know.
Tim Curry. There we go.
Oh, right. Claymore.
Yes. And Tim Curry is kind of evil. So they go to the Museum of Natural Sciences. We go there for some reason, and they've received this sarcophagus that is for Genghis Khan.
Yes.
And the scientists or whatever say to the night guard, don't touch it or whatever, but it kind of opens and the ancestor of Genghis Khan comes out. I can't remember his name exactly.
Shiwan Khan.
Yeah.
Played by John Lone.
And he's a really evil guy.
John Lone, the guy who we need a Chinese guy for this, John Lone.
Yeah.
The next film, we need a Japanese guy, and we'll get to that guy in a second.
Right.
Yeah. He makes the security guard kill himself, played by Ethan Phillips, Neelix of Voyager fame.
Oh, wow. Okay. Lots of Star Trek people in these films.
Wrong show.
I know. And so then he is loose, and he kind of wreaks havoc on the city.
And the thing is that so we know that the Shadow has the power to cloud the minds of men, which basically translates to him, he can make himself invisible. This movie he just literally becomes invisible, I guess.
Yes.
But it's more like it's supposed to be he sort of edits himself out of like people's minds.
So they can't think of him.
Which is something that was invented for the radio show because they had to come up with a reason why. So this is something that you talked about Batman before, and we talked about his versatility in depiction.
Mm-hmm.
But his main thing is supposed to be he hangs people from his plane and breaks their necks.
Yeah.
He scares people.
Yes.
That's why he's effective.
Mm-hmm.
Guy in a bat suit, not that scary. Guy in a bat suit at night and,
talking like this.
Swear to me. Right. Scary.
Yes.
And so the Shadow scares people.
Yes.
The fact that this evil lurks within the hearts of men means that they are, and they didn't come up with this was Finger or Bob Kane, our cowardly and superstitious lot. And so he preys upon that.
Yes.
And basically he really killed anybody with his twin 45s or whatever in the radio show. He basically forced people to kill themselves because they were so scared.
Yeah.
Or have a heart attack or whatever. And so, he can cloud people's minds. He can make Alec Baldwin's face look like William Baldwin's face. It's weird. But Shiwan Khan is leveled up. He's got extra juice. He's got telekinesis and he can brainwash people and he can do all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, he brainwashes this cabbie, also played by another character actor. I don't know his name. But he looks familiar to me. But he was all like, you need gas, because he was upset that he was writing down where he dropped him off. He's like, you're tracking my location. And so he hypnotizes him to say that he needs gas, and then he drives the car into a gas truck and explodes.
Yeah.
So
I need gas.
Yeah.
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 Music by Jerry Goldsmith.
Okay.
All of these have sweeping themes, except the Phantom.
Yeah.
We'll get there. The Phantom.
Oh, the Phantom.
Anyway, wrap it up. What's the plot here? Shiwan Khan has come to New York to what? What can he only do in America?
He is trying to take over the world, something that Genghis Khan almost did, but did not quite totally do. And so he is going to do that from a place of power in New York City. And he has disappeared an entire hotel building. And that's part of his
real.
plot. Yeah. And he has all of these minions that are dressed up as ancient Chinese soldiers.
Well,
so
he's owning it.
Yeah, I know. And at one point he dresses up in a suit like Lamont Claymore, and Lamont's like, oh, nice tie. It was probably the exact same tie that he had from Brooks Brothers.
Right.
So, he's not always in traditional dress, but most of the time he is. So, he's trying to take over the world. He's Pinky and the Braining it. So, he feels like he can do that from New York City.
Did you say atomic bomb yet?
No, I haven't. Yeah, he's going to explode the city to make it atomic bomb.
He invents an atomic bomb.
Yes.
Before anybody else does.
So before World War II.
Before the Manhattan Project.
Yes.
It's an exploding bomb.
Yeah.
Or an atomic bomb.
Oh, I like that.
What's in your wallet?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's catchy.
Yeah.
James Hong is in this.
Yes. Yes.
What else? That's it.
That's more or less
So he's got to defeat the most dangerous, heavy
Yes.
of them all, Tim Curry.
Right.
And in doing so, vanquish Shiwan Khan, reclaim from Shiwan Khan the dagger of Flip Flop or
Oh,
whatever,
gosh. Yeah.
which is this MacGuffin
Yes.
that sort of represents control over it, represents, having
Mastery.
your telepathic shit together,
Yes.
basically. And then they rip off, in an homage, I'm assuming, to Orson Welles, they rip off the finale of Lady from Shanghai with a mirror sequence.
That's true. They do.
Yeah, and literally use the same shots, like they do, the superimposing the face over
Yes.
the several mirrors.
Yes.
And then John Lone is just going, "Oh no, oh, so much glass."
Yes.
And
Yes.
then he lobotomizes John Lone. I thought that was a good twist.
I know.
He's killed
Yeah.
so many people in this movie.
Yeah.
Leaves that guy alive.
I know.
And the guy's like, "Oh, you only lost a part of your brain. It's not important unless you believe in telepathy." That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
This movie is not, though.
No. And like Margot Lane supposedly hears voices too.
Oh yeah, that's
Kind of dropped.
Well,
I feel like.
it's like Leia having Jedi powers.
Yeah.
They give her like a latent telepathy.
Yes.
Which is not. That's their invention, which is fine.
Right.
But it kind of explains why, because you never figure out why Margot Lane and Lamont Cranston work together.
Right.
Just because you need a romantic interest, and it never really goes. It's not like they're lovers or anything. I mean, you kind of assume they are. But,
Right.
So to
right.
give her some reason to be like, you're my protege, Lemon.
Right,
some
right.
reason why he sticks around with her. I think it works.
Yeah, I think so too.
Dick Tracy is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
There are entire parts of it where they reuse shots.
Yes.
I think the montages were always planned, but I think the montages end up doing a lot of the heavy lifting of the story where
Yes.
we don't know where to go. Montage.
Right.
Rocketeer is pretty clean. It's just boring. But Disney
Yeah.
would not deliver a movie that didn't have at least a comprehensible plot. This, to me, smacks of there are a lot of things we wanted to do and we couldn't pull them off necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things in here that there's some things that look really great and there's some things that look like crap.
Yes.
And one of the things that's great that maybe a studio would have pushed back on because you want to have your star on screen is they do a lot of like animated shadow. It's like clearly
Yes.
animation, but like they'll show like the shadow moving around by showing him on the wall. He's a
Yes.
shadow instead of just a guy in a hat like
Right.
walking around.
Right.
And I thought like that's an interesting touch. That's kind of cool. A lot of the dialogue is just kind of dumb, not great.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Jonathan Winters. I don't know why he's in this film. Like his scenes are just dumb.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just somebody for Alec Baldwin to talk to.
Yes.
You never get a sense of okay, neat pitch. Guy goes native basically, and really turns to the dark side, and now he's like back and trying to atone for it.
Right.
But they just never. Alec Baldwin just kind of wanders around and just kind of grimaces through a lot of his shadow scenes, and you never understand like why he's doing it. He never
Right.
seems that sinister. They have like a weird dream sequence where he's like struggling with fire and like in his dark side or whatever.
He peels off his face and he's the
He's
Genghis Khan.
John Lone, yeah.
Character. Yeah.
And I don't know. It never seals the deal for me.
Yeah. I feel like it's a little disappointing.
Also, you would shoot your feet off if you just blast. You got concrete galoshes on,
and you just shoot your
guns at it.
I know.
Your feet would have holes in it.
I agree. So that one scene when he first meets his uncle at the club, and then his face goes into shadows, and then he is doing the mind control thing, like
It's
the
like
shadow.
a mesmerist type thing.
Yeah, but
That's cool.
it was so cheesy. I couldn't help but laugh.
That's the thing. This movie it's solidly in the 90s,
Yes.
So it's like a 90s action movie aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
If it had gone full cheese, it might have made it. But it keeps
That's
pulling
true.
back and trying to make him cool, and it's like he's not cool.
No, he's not.
It's not cool.
No.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's a lot of maniacal
It's not.
laughing.
Yeah, they try to make him Batman, and I know he inspired Batman, but Batman has overtaken him. If
Yes.
they did more of a period piece, plus Russell McKay, not a good director, right? Like we
guess
all
not.
love Blade Runner,
Right.
not Blade Runner.
The Blade?
Ridley Scott's not a good director. Right? Highlander.
Yes.
And there are some very heavy touches of a director's hand in that film that kind of work out, but ultimately he's not good, right?
Right.
I mean, he doesn't hold this together.
No. Yeah. I guess I'd have to give this one, I think, a rating of a 2. That was a little bit
Ooh,
less.
you're going to 2 on this one.
Yeah, I am.
So that's funny because I'm going up to 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going to 3 shards of glass in the frontal lobe.
Oh my gosh.
I think that this is more realized. I think that this is, this is something of a cash in. It's very Batman-y.
Mm-hmm.
They just started with that. They got the theme. They got everything else. But I think it was more well realized.
Okay.
They just
I
didn't
can see that.
pull. And again, you get into the problem of, do we want this? What's this guy's thing? Is he kung fu? Does he shoot people in the face?
Right.
Yes to both, but he does very little of it.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting is it to watch a guy talk somebody into killing themselves?
Right.
It's just not like on the radio. Great. In a movie, I don't know, maybe not so much.
Right.
What is Penelope Ann Miller even doing here?
Yeah, I know. She's a pretty face.
And not like the other girls.
Right. And she
Except
has,
all the girls have the Gibson girl pin curls, but
I know.
otherwise, not like the other girls.
and like she has gorgeous dresses, and she always has like a different coat
Yeah.
for like all over. It's like,
Hey.
weren't you like just over at?
Doing science, it brings a lot of money in.
I guess
Gandalf's loaded.
weren't you over just at Lamont's house, and he let you like pick out a dress that his aunt wore or whatever? Like, did you just pull out one of her coats too? It's weird.
Yeah, guess so.
It's weird.
You have to have all men of distinction and taste had a wardrobe full of women's clothes.
I guess.
And you're like, where'd this come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't ask any questions.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's after 6. What are we, farmers? Well, we've finally arrived.
Yes.
It is
we did.
time to slam evil,
Yes.
Mika,
Mm-hmm.
with 1996, The
The
Phantom.
Phantom. Yes.
Do you want me to start?
You can start.
Let's just not talk about it. No, okay, we have to. No choice. The Phantom.
Yes.
Directed by Simon Windsor. Ask me what else ask me about my Simon Windsor.
What about your Simon Windsor?
Simon Windsor directed DARYL.
What is that?
So he gets off, he's fine.
Okay.
Other than that, we'll take it.
Okay.
Some might say Quickly Down Under. I still don't understand people's
Okay.
love of Quickly Down Under. Don't think it's that great. And that's about it.
All right.
And then he directed The Phantom, and that was kind of the beginning of the end.
All right.
After that, he directed Crocodile Dundee in L.A.,
Okay.
which is the
Sure.
third one? Yes, it's the third one.
Okay.
It's Crocodile Dundee 3.
All right.
So not particularly accomplished,
No.
and I think it shows.
Yeah.
I think it shows. The Phantom is a character created by Lee Falk in the 30s for a strip, for the Phantom comic strip.
Sure.
The Phantom did, of course, later on become a full-fledged comic book and what have you. And the Phantom is Kit Walker, the ghost who walks.
Yes.
He is a legacy hero. He is descended from Christopher Walker, who... And they go through this in the movie, basically.
Yeah, they do.
After insulting you for coming in late.
Yeah, I know.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Who is a white guy, go figure.
Yes.
Who was attacked by pirates.
Right.
And he basically swears an oath to fight evil and piracy and corruption in all its forms. That means basically living on an island, a jungle island in Asia,
Right.
which later gets changed. It gets
it's-
moved to
Africa.
yeah, an unspecified, or the Bengala or whatever it is, African country. Let's start the appropriation,
Yeah,
everyone.
I
A lot of people lived in Africa, but this white guy nailed it.
I know.
It's the Tom Cruise Last Samurai
I know.
situation.
It is.
He did it the best.
Yeah.
And he is not, he didn't have any superpowers, really.
Not really.
He uses his
just...
wits, his fighting ability,
Yes.
his also double 45s, and the ability to talk with the ghosts, well, at least the ghost of his father.
Yes. And then he has a skull ring.
Yeah. Yeah. Which can shoot a laser.
I know.
No, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But basically like a weird, Africa is spiritual.
Yes.
This guy is the Toto of
Yes.
of superhero movies.
Yes, he is.
Want to tell us what happens specifically in The Phantom?
Well, we
Produced by Robert Evans.
Oh,
The name Robert Evans gets the Phantom made.
So we see these 3 guys and this one kid, and they're trying to get to this treasure. We don't really know what they're after, or if they're good guys or bad guys.
And we spend a good 16, 17 minutes with them.
Yes, we do.
In this movie called The Phantom.
Yeah. And then they mention the ghost who walks, and they're like, "No, I'm not afraid of him," and you see that the one guy has like a skull.
He punched
scar.
a skull into my face.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah.
Like, so he's like, I killed him. I don't know if he says that right away or not. But then after they've looted this cave and this one guy got strangled by a skeleton somehow.
That happens.
Yeah. Then we finally see the Phantom on his white horse with his pet wolf.
Devil.
Yes. Yeah. And he's chasing after these guys.
And he does not look good.
No, he's like in a purple suit and he's got a black eye mask.
The Falk's design is awesome. And I should just say that Lee Falk, other people wrote this character, drew the character, and did stuff with it, but he continued to write and script for the character until his death in 1999.
Okay.
And reportedly was dictating new storylines and dialogue to his wife from his deathbed in the hospital.
Wow.
Tore off his oxygen mask to be like, "Hey, he's got to punch a skull into his face."
Oh my gosh.
Lee, calm down. Yeah.
Wow.
But sorry, continue. I'm going to continue.
Okay.
So this thing was clearly at some point shot. There are some beautiful locations. This was clearly shot somewhat on location.
Yes.
But there are many places that look like the garden center at a Walmart.
Yes.
And almost all of the hero shots of him, Billy Zane, are that. So it's like bright light, a couple ferns, and him in his goofy purple costume.
Yes.
He's not. Is he supposed to scare people? He's not scary.
I don't know. And I also want to know where he got the materials for his purple costume.
He invented Lycra. This is 1939.
I know. And purple Lycra.
That's the real secret of a dark continent.
Yeah, I know,
Synthetic
right?
fabrics.
Yes. Yeah, so he chases the guys away who were doing the treasure hunting, and they had tied the kid up in the back of the truck. And they drive it onto this rickety bridge again, and somehow he gets the kid, and
you were spending
fly
as
to
much
safety.
time as the movie does.
Yeah, I know.
So let's just boop.
We go back to New York. We meet Diana Palmer, who is not like all the other girls, and she's just been adventuring in Canada of all places.
Yeah.
So
the wilds of Canada.
Yeah, the wilds of Canada.
The Yukon.
Yeah, the Yukon. Yes. So not really clear as to what she did there, but she's
also
an
a
explorer.
society person, but
yes.
Again, another high-paying job, I guess. Her father is a DA or something?
I think
he's trying to come down on Xander.
It's actually her uncle.
Oh, that's right. It's not her parents. That's right.
And he owns a newspaper company.
Oh, you got He wants to write a big story.
Yes.
On what industrialist Xander Drax is up to.
Yes.
Do you want to do your little bit?
Up to no good.
Do you want to do your bit?
What's my bit?
It's a movie that has Quill and Drax in it.
Yes. Okay. So I noticed right away, Quill is the adventuring bad guy that has a skull on his face. That's Quill. And then Xander Drax is the Howard Hughes type guy who, in another couple of years or whatever, would have been played by Carrie Elwes, but it was played by somebody else.
I think Carrie Elwes was deep into Twister at this point.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think he was still playing good guys. So there's a Guardians of the Galaxy connection there.
I love your theory, but Drax the Destroyer created in 1973, Star-Lord created in 1976.
Yes.
So it's impossible.
So way past.
Unless the guy that wrote this, who I'm scared to look up, but I did, and it was Jeffrey Boehm, who also wrote Last Crusade, the worst Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, boy.
He wrote The Lost Boys.
Okay.
And he wrote Lethal Weapon 2, which is It's a romp. It's not as good as the
first
Lethal
one?
Weapon, but what is? Yeah. So
well, you've called this movie a boring Indiana Jones, which I think is actually fairly accurate.
It's a totally nothing happens in this movie.
I know,
except a laser fight at the end.
Yes.
And so anyway, yeah. So what's the original point? So it's not, as we all know, it's really Tango and Cash that has the Guardians of the Galaxy connection.
Right.
Not
right.
yeah. So anyway, can I take over?
Yes.
Okay. So Xander Drax is basically like evil Howard Hughes.
Yes, he is.
Put that on the graph.
Yes.
And he loves industry and science, but he's really also into magic, African magic.
Yes.
Because he wants to find these skulls.
These three
that
skulls.
he heard about. Yep.
Yes.
And the Phantom is the worst protector of the jungle ever because he lets this guy get all three skulls.
Yes, he does.
Excellent work.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, he's kind of getting mixed up in all this stuff. And so he runs into Diana, who is a college buddy of Kit Walker's.
Yes.
But doesn't know he's the Phantom.
Right.
He is in a situation where he's trying to save her because they're on a boat. Doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
The boat is full of pussy galore. I mean, whatever the character's name is, Captain Zeta-Jones' character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is an aviatrix.
Yes.
And has like a flying circus just like pussy galore.
Right.
Nice rip there. And so she wants him. Christy Swanson's going to want him eventually.
Right.
Because he's got that Billy Zane magic.
Mm-hmm.
He is easily overpowered by a bunch of drunk thugs.
Yep.
But his wolf always comes to save the day.
Yes.
And never tears anybody's throat out. But I guess this is PG, so. But should. And then he ditches. He's like, thanks, dog. And then he runs away. And the dog's like, what the hell, man?
I know, right?
I guess. Why wouldn't these guys just shoot me?
Yeah, I know.
Nobody uses their guns well. He finally breaks out his guns at the end of this, like he's the Rock in the Rundown, and just ends up shooting swords out of people's hands. And it's like,
yes,
these are murderers.
I know.
It's okay.
I know.
No court can bring them to justice on this hidden island in some unknown sea.
I know.
Nobody's going to miss these guys.
And
the Sang Brotherhood they're terrible people.
Yes.
There's a lot of rape implications in this.
I know.
Nobody's going to care if you kill these guys.
No.
Nope. Shoot it out of their hands.
And there's this one part when he's in New York still, where he
we
goes.
got to the New York.
He goes down an elevator shaft with the guns in his hands. But why are the guns in his hands? So that we can see sparks.
So he can slide
somehow.
Because his hands would get hurt on the elevator cable. Which, by the way, elevator cables covered in grease.
Yeah.
They're always shiny, pristine.
Right.
In the movies, but it's a lot of goo up there.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so what happens in the elevator in Russian Doll? Do they try to climb out of it, or they're just in it, I guess?
They're just in it. There's this one lady who's like panicking and like lays on the floor as the doors open.
Right.
And then like some of the other people kind of get closer to the ground.
Right.
And then our two characters who die all the time are just kind of like, eh.
So they go to New York because the other skull is in the Natural History Museum.
Yes.
On the graph, and
they
he completely fails to stop Drax from getting that skull.
Yes, he grabs it himself, and then Drax is like, "I'll take that, thank you."
I don't mind a hero that isn't totally superlative in terms of
inefficient
his fighting ability, but he just continually loses to guys with kerchiefs around their necks.
I know.
And so he doesn't get that skull. Treat Williams, who is, I don't know if it's good, but I know what I like. He's having a lot of fun in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Sticks the skulls together, and the skulls shoot a laser that points to an island on a map that, how did the skulls know that magic is weird, huh?
Yeah.
What if he had united the skulls in the middle of an open field? Would the laser just shoot for miles and like hit a globe on a desk in a enterprising individuals elementary school somewhere?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really good question.
Anyway, good thing there was a map there. They realized that this spot on the map is a secret island in the Devil's Vortex because we didn't want to do Bermuda Triangle because that's not African enough, I guess.
It's more or less the same thing.
So they go to this island.
Idea.
We have no idea where it is, but whatever. And the Phantom jumps on their plane. Oh, yeah, there's this whole stupid chase through New York where we go to a zoo for some reason.
Yes.
No good reason. There's a tiger that he can talk to. Bring him along.
Somehow.
No, he just can talk to tigers.
Yeah,
just want to show us that.
Yeah.
There's a cab driver character like Peter Boyle in The Shadow that you think is going to stick around. He doesn't. He never comes back. The Shadow follows them by hanging on to the bottom part of their plane for hours.
Yeah, I know.
At least tie himself to the thing with his belt or something.
Right.
So anyway, so they get to this island. Turns out that it's the set of Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride. And living there is the Sang Brotherhood that we've heard so much about.
Yes.
And so James Remar, who plays Quill, pretends to be one of them to get their trust. It doesn't really work.
Right.
Doesn't
I
work.
mean, he has a tattoo, but
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't work at all. David Proval's blown away by a cannon.
Yes.
And at some point, the Shadow just takes, or the Phantom just takes pity on us and just jumps out and starts the fight.
Yes.
We all fight.
Yeah.
And he beats the guy who's this is it. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa is the guy who's like, we need a Japanese guy.
Sure.
Get him. He plays, much like the Shadow, the descendant of the original Sang that founded the Brotherhood, who's just a natural enemy of the Phantom, I guess.
Yes.
They have a lame fight where he throws him to the sharks because God knows he can't kill him. Catherine Zeta-Jones has become good now. He puts her and the other useless female lead into a submarine, which is going to launch out, and then Treat Williams gets a third skull, which allows him to shoot a laser.
Yep.
Great.
Pretty much.
Got a laser.
And then a fourth skull is mentioned by
it's a laser.
The head pirate guy before he died. And
which never comes back, except it does, because the fourth skull is the ring, I guess.
Yes, the Phantom's ring.
If some Phantoms... I like this idea of the legacy hero. He's white T'Challa, basically, right?
Yes.
T'Challa has what? A
ring.
Ring that he puts on?
Yes.
Right? Put that on the graph.
Yep.
And so my question is, the skulls are all ancient. They're from thousands of years ago.
Yes.
The ring must be too. But if you're Patrick McGoohan and you get stabbed to death by James Remar in a cave,
yes,
and he takes your belt,
how
do you get that ring back?
Yeah, good question.
There's no way that the ring this is the 21st Phantom, but whatever the Phantom is, there's no way this is the same ring, right? How is that even possible? Unless he goes to such great lengths to get the belt back. Maybe if you're the 18th Phantom, let's say.
Sure.
And your dad fell off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Part of your mission to become the new Phantom is
to
go get his shit.
Yeah.
Because we need all that shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, apparently the ring shoots a laser which counteracts the skull's laser.
I know.
We just needed to end
lame.
this movie.
This
movie just needed to end.
I know. In the most lame way
climax
possible.
Takes place in a dimly lit sub bay.
I know.
And that's it. And there's a lot of Jules Verne. The whole idea of a hollow island, like Lincoln Island or whatever, and even the little sub that they're in looks a lot like the Nautilus.
Yeah. There's one point where he takes Diana Palmer, this is early on in the movie, to his hideout, which is a skull cave.
Yes.
And this other scientist guy starts smoking, and his his little the guy who's his servant or whatever is he's like, there's no smoking in the skull cave.
No smoking in the skull cave.
And I just lost it because do you know how ridiculous that sentence was that you just said?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
Yep. But no, they don't. They keep going.
I know. They're straight face.
There's parts like Treat Williams knows what he's in. Mm-hmm. But there are other parts that are deadly serious.
Yes.
And don't work at all.
Yes.
And they don't. You had remarked on this too. I didn't even notice it just because I'm familiar with the character of the Phantom. And may I recommend the Phantom 2040?
Okay.
It's the 22nd Phantom.
Okay.
And it takes place in 2040, so far away, but it was when the cartoon came out.
Sure.
And so it's this weird, the character designs are by Eric Kinnett, who did the Aeon Flux. It's like Aeon Flux meets the Phantom in a cyberpunk universe. It's like Batman Beyond the Phantom.
Okay.
And it's really neat.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it is. But I was so familiar with the Phantom that I didn't even notice that they sandbag his origin story. The whole time Patrick McGoohan keeps showing up, and you're like,
yeah.
What's going on here?
Why is he seeing this?
And in the last 5 minutes of the movie, he's like, all right, Buffy, check this out. So my dad was the Phantom, and his dad was the Phantom.
Right.
And you're like, any time would have been a great time to give us any of this information.
Towards the beginning of the film would have been an excellent time.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they did that.
I don't know either.
It's bizarre to me because I was watching the beginning of the movie. And they said 400 years later, but I was thinking he was a little kid. I was thinking,
he's a little kid.
He was a little kid at the beginning of the movie, and then he has lived for 400 years. That's what I was thinking.
But that's the cool thing about the Phantom is that you're supposed to think that.
I know.
And James Remar's his whole claim to fame, he won't shut up about the fact that he killed the Phantom.
Yes.
But then later on, he meets other the Singh Brotherhood, and they're like, "We've all killed the Phantom, buddy."
Right.
And the time doesn't work out unless the pirates are immortal. Clearly, they haven't all successfully killed the Phantom. But it's this thing. It's like the Joker. Like every time, not now, but whenever the Joker used to pop up, he'd fight the Batman, then he'd fall off a cliff or something, and Batman's like, "I don't think he's really dead. We'll see if he comes back."
Right.
So he gets this like, "You're never going to stop this guy. He always gets out of it."
Mm-hmm.
It's that, but it's a good guy.
Right.
You know. So yeah, I like the fact that he has this reputation for being immortal, and then in case he does actually get killed, you're like, "No, I set his body on fire and spread the ashes in my litter box. I know he's dead." And it's like, "Ta-da! He's not dead."
Yeah.
It's like, what? Yeah, he's the ghost that walks.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, that all makes sense. I just wish they
The
had...
movie sucks.
Yeah. I wish they had said that earlier.
One skull.
I give it 1 star as well.
Skull.
1 skull? Okay.
There's no stars in this.
All right.
I mean, Treat Williams. That's about it.
Yeah.
What did we learn?
Pulp, although popular in the comics, does not always transition into film successfully.
Pulp the band?
Yeah, well, no, the idea, these pulp comics.
Oh, right. Right.
And I don't know, I would say that I think all of these have potential just for whatever reason, and I don't know if it was the time that they came out, like maybe it was like the early to mid 90s. Like I'm not exactly sure why they weren't more successful or why they weren't better films. Maybe we've learned along the way how to structure a superhero film better.
I think you're right and wrong at the same time.
Okay.
Because I do think the problem is, and there were a lot of cooks. They took something, you option a character.
Yes.
It's got 45 years of history. Mm-hmm. You go, what the hell do I do? You probably deliver an ambitious but unfilmable script. Then it gets handed off to corporate, screenwriters who go, well, let's just put some McDonald's hamburgers in it or something. Or you have a situation where a writer-producer really wants his version and he's fighting with Disney. Because Disney's 2 out of 3 in this thing.
Yes.
And so he's, fighting to get things made. People don't want to get things made. And this was a Paramount, always such good movies. Yeah, just a mess. And so I think it wasn't taking the material seriously because it's, who cares, because it's pulp.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which means, it's printed on pulp, bad quality paper, basically.
Sure.
Who cares?
Right.
But then you say, well, we refined the structure. Did we? Because Iron Man was basically written on the fly, like while they were shooting. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Like when the Russos sit down and do a 3-hour movie, they're like, this is what's going to happen. We're going to follow this lady who looks like a praying mantis, and we're going to go over here, and it's going to come out here. But that's going to cross with this character who is Tony Stark's driver, who used to be like a hunky actor. And, and it's all going to make sense, and they take it super seriously.
Right.
But now comic movies aren't comic book movies anymore. They're just blockbusters.
No, you're right.
Like in the same way that you should want whatever your action, your Tom Cruise Mission Impossible thing to connect and make sense, we apply the same thing to comics, and I just don't think they did that. I just don't think they cared. Well, this great stunt. The plane's going to crash. So what he does is he could, in a controlled flight, brings it down to a very flat area that he's going to fly it above, and they're just going to just land the plane.
I know.
Just land it.
I know.
A hydroplane has smooth pontoons on the bottom.
Yes.
You can land in a grassy field.
Yes.
No, it's careful. This plane can fly perfectly for a mile as a horse picks us up.
I know.
It's so stupid.
It's so dumb. It's really lame.
Slam evil.
Yeah, I know.
You got to slam evil.
Yeah, right.
Once upon a time I had plenty of nothing, which was fine with me because I had rhythm, music, love, the The sun, the stars, and the moon.
Well, I don't know if we did anything good or accomplished anything, but thank God. Can we say this? Thank God we made it to where we are now.
I think so.
We're
yes.
sitting here talking about the implications of the future of the franchise with the loss of actors and characters, and we've got finally a Black Widow movie coming.
I know.
And we've got a movie like Captain Marvel that's going to be, the first female-led and directed Marvel movie.
Yes.
Which is, a huge step forward. And on the other side, we've got DC's finally answering the call, not Ghostbusters, but answering the call to elevate their material and
Yes.
create fun, but yet sort of semi-serious, insightful works. And
Yes.
so it's been a long road.
It has been a
And
long
that's
road.
the third and last Trek reference. But we made it.
Yes, we did.
Thank you. Thank God.
Yes.
And thank God the wide world had so many wonderful cultures that we could pirate in order to make white people interesting.
Wow, I know, right? These were all the heroes were white guys. All of them had girlfriends or love interests that were somewhat entangled with their plots and everything.
And all of them, except Dick Tracy, stole something from the Eastern Hemisphere to be special.
Yes.
And Dick Tracy almost definitely persecuted immigrants. I mean, Big Boy Caprice, Italian, right?
I know.
He's an Italian
I
guy.
know.
So he's still happening.
Yes.
Sorry, old world.
Yeah.
You're going to take it in the rear for this.
I know.
I got no segue. Follow us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter at Just Enough Trope. And also, if you don't do... Can we talk?
Yeah.
Can we talk? If you don't get our show from a podcatcher, why?
Yes.
Leave us a comment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to know. I'm not forcing you to listen however you want. But if you don't use a podcatcher, I'd be interested to know why.
Mm-hmm.
If you do, or you're thinking about it, find us on that app of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Personally and myself, I am switching to Google Podcasts. Now, you're sitting down, so that's good.
Yes.
I'm giving up on Zune.
Oh wow. That's a big deal.
The software is unusable.
Okay.
And when the software doesn't work, you're screwed.
Yeah.
It'll
agree.
work if I put all my music on it, and it can hold it. It's got 120 gigs.
Right.
And you never change a thing, and you listen to your music forever, you're fine. But if you want to do podcasts, like I like to do,
Yes.
and listen to our own sometimes,
Yes.
that's messed up.
Okay.
And so we're out of business.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around for a podcatcher, and I think I'm landing on Google
Podcasts.
Podcasts. Yeah,
Okay.
very convenient.
Yeah.
So look for us there. Look for us on Stitcher. Another great choice.
Yes.
When you find us there, subscribe. Also, give us a review because we want to know how you think we're doing. We want to know why you're on that particular platform of choice for
Right.
our demographics. And also, give us a rating. It's really probably the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that lets those services know we're doing a good job. We move up in the ranks, and we can reach more people.
Yes.
And tell them about these horrible, horrible films. And so, to that end, I would like 5 cabbie sidekicks.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Just planes are real.
Yeah.
Your character is rich.
Yep.
Get a plane.
I know.
Everybody has
I
a
know.
cabbie that drives them around.
I know.
The Spirit had Ebony White.
I
Less
know.
said, the better.
Yes.
Come on, man.
I know.
Or
I
a
agree.
rocket sled or something. Like the Rocketeer.
Yes.
I don't think that he rides in a cab,
No.
but I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
Yeah, I think he drives his own car around, but
Oh, whoa.
I know.
Cliff Secord has a car, everybody.
I know, right?
Oh, he hasn't sealed the deal with Jenny Blake yet.
I know.
Guy's got a whole car.
I know.
So anyway, just give us 5 stars. Not 5 cars.
Yes.
Oh, we'll be back next week. We had an idea for what we wanted to do. I'm not sure we're going to do it now.
Okay. All
It
right.
got a little weird.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about that and my ongoing mental degeneration,
Stop it.
follow us on those social media networks. But until then, we're signing off. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.
More